People, deluded, I'm back again. You lot thought it was a quiet week for Arsenal fans, and it has been. I mean, we're not playing until Monday against Sheffield United, so we've got a bit of a wait and a bit of a fluctuation with the league. But Mesut Ozil has given us something to speak about, and he seems in buoyant mood in just trying to clear the air. I haven't read the official paragraph on The Athletic, because I'm not going to lie, I'm not subscribed to it. So I need to, but it is what it is. But, pardon me, a lot of things have been surfaced and whatnot, and he seems in bullish mood. The main point, I take away from it is there's still a lot of bad blood, and I'll highlight the points, but there's still a lot of bad blood, and he's defiant that he wants to stay until 2021. So we'll see how that one develops, people, because clearly we have ambitions to move him on. So we'll see. I do think Mesut Ozil is an extreme case. There's been many a time where, obviously, I do think in general, Project Ozil failed and Arsenal failed Mesut Ozil, and Ozil kind of failed Arsenal. No, I don't think it's that. I think the club failed Ozil purely because, yes, there's been times he hasn't pulled it out. He's been inconsistent. He's declined. He probably could have paid through the playing barrier. But I think a lot of it is, a lot of people just assume because Mesut Ozil is a classy player or was a classy player when he arrived at 24, he is just going to change everything. Similar to United's Paul Pogba. You need to build around them. You need 11 leaders. You need time. They're not the Gerrards and stuff, especially Ozil. He's not a Gerrard. Like, he is someone, you have 10 other soldiers in the trenches. Ozil is just there to do the cam stuff. Now, for Ozil, I don't feel Ozil's adapted. He's still very much this poetry emotion thing. You could say Kevin De Bruyne was like that. Silva was like that. They've adapted. It's adapt or fail to survive. And if he adapted, would this be a conversation? I don't know. But I do think we failed to develop him, to develop around him. I do think people just assumed Ozil being a world-class player means he can do everything, fly into 50,000 challenges, and it's not him. It's completely different, but it's like Ozil, it's like Pepe, seeing 72 million, not recognising that the player is not a £72 million player. If he was watching him, to a degree, Reece Nelson can be counted as that. It's just expectations. Nelson went on loan to Germany. People thought it's Cristiano Ronaldo coming back. And now there's like, oh, he's still developing. He's not good enough. You know how stupid fans are? You know, at times. Mesut Ozil has failed. We didn't build around him. We messed around at the time. There was times he couldn't pull it out. But, I mean, expecting Ozil to pull it out in several occasions isn't going to happen. There are times he has to hold his hands up and he's been poor. But this myth that he hasn't turned up in big games is a myth. There's Chelsea, there's United, there's City games, there's Liverpool games, there's teams in Europe, Munich, Napoli. He has turned up. The FA Cup final, he's there sprinting and barging Hazard. And I mean, that's a bit of an anomaly because I was seeing Coquelin doing stepovers in that final. But I have to defend Ozil to a degree. I do think he is scapegoated. I do think there is a part of him, he simply didn't cut the mustard. But there becomes a punch of scapegoating. And you all know with social media, I do think it became a point where people were building careers off blasting the Ozils and the several other people. And it is true, he is being scapegoated at times, and it is unfair. But moving on from that, I think we failed to build around him, really and truly. If we got the striker in, if we improved the back line and you got the defensive mids, and it became a thing where Ozil can be brought off after 70 minutes, or the team's not relying on Ozil in terms of the engine and whatnot, then it's cool. I just feel many people looked at Ozil as a classy player and thought it's all blood and guts and glory. And there are times, I don't agree with the lack of effort. Sometimes he is poor, but I have seen him try. And just because a man's not running around, doesn't mean he's not caring. I think that's a cultural issue, us as the English people, we need to get over. We need to be a bit more continental in that there's such thing as, I'm not saying it's Ozil, but I see a lot of European players conserving energy or just running when they need to run, and it's seen as laziness. But England is passion. Is that necessarily the sensible option? I don't know. Moving on to Ozil though, and if I mess up the quotes, forgive me, people, but let's go through them. On not being picked, he said, "It is disappointing, of course, but as a professional footballer, I have to respect the decision of the coach. Not being involved, watching from home makes me feel hopeless. I've trained at the same level my whole career, but because I've not had minutes recently, I'm doing extra work with the fitness coach and in the gym to get even fitter than normal. I know what is needed and I believe in myself." Now, Ozil was the same player that was one of the first back from pre-season. So again, the narrative that he doesn't try, that he's coasting, that just because he's on 300,000 a week, he doesn't care, isn't necessarily true, people. It isn't true. Like, you lot know me, I stand for the truth. Ozil isn't blameless, but I don't agree. I'm not going to just cap for no reason. Like you probably see some other YouTubers now, they're probably getting their clickbaits off capping and blasting Ozil. This is never going to be the platform for that. Again, many people have made their minds up over Ozil, including myself. So it is what it is. Nice to see he's doing extra training, and I mean, didn't someone come out and say Ozil was trying to bribe coaches? So, I mean, it's a bit silly. I mean, 1 minute he's doing extra training, then he's apparently paying coaches to not go football. It's a bit silly. On Emery, he said, "I've worked under some of the biggest coaches in the world: Arsene, Jose Mourinho, Jurgen Low, and I always show respect. It's the same for Emery. We might not see eye to eye on everything, but that's normal. It's life, and it's the same with friends and family. You have to go and accept it." Now, we might not see eye to eye on everything, probably put it nice. You don't see eye to eye on anything, really. I mean, he's made you... I don't understand it, and only you two will. I do think there's no smoke without fire. Clearly, Emery... I think the club want him gone. I think Emery doesn't fancy him, so that's one hand. But I do think there's a... Maybe you're not doing something Emery wants you to adapt in. I have to play devil's advocate and say that. I personally believe it's a thing where Emery, the club probably didn't want to give him the deal, wanted to move him on. If another manager was here and he was playing as regularly as he was under Wenger, then we'd have to accept it. But because he's being marginalised and whatnot, and because how we're moving as a club, it's the perfect reason to get him off the wage. But because Emery doesn't want him, I do think I think Emery doesn't want him, but I do think it's above his head decision. And obviously, if the young players deserve it, they deserve it to be in the squad ahead of him. But I do think a lot of that is to hurt Mesut Ozil as well. I'm keeping it true on all sides, people. In regards to downing tools, he said, "Why did I work so hard positively during pre-season this year? And why, after the World Cup last year, did I return from holiday early for the first time in my career to start training 3 days before I was back? I did it for the new coach." See, so it isn't true. I remember one time, it's completely off topic, but I have to mention, there was a time, I swear Mesut Ozil, what was it, people? He got injured and he came back against Villa and he was looking wham. But moving on, he just said, "If we don't do well in big games, it's always my fault. If that's true, how do you explain our results in big games when I wasn't involved? There's no real difference." When speaking about illness, he said, "I always get frustrated when I miss a game through illness and people question if it is genuine. Yes, it's happened a few times, usually in winter, but what am I supposed to do?" If a man's ill, he's ill. Like, on one hand, I mean, sometimes it did seem like was, especially under Wenger, in regards to this illness thing. And I do feel in football, because we're used to seeing metatarsal injury, ankle ligament, broken nose, this and that. When we hear illness, it don't really match up with the demeanour of a footballer. But we need to remember sometimes, I'm not saying he's always ill, but sometimes man them are ill. We've been ill. All the males watching this, you know about man flu, and all the females watching this, it's a serious thing. So moving on a serious note, we don't know, man. And it is a well documented that Ozil actually has a back issue. He's got, what's that thing Lee Gooner said he had? Because he's actually got the same thing Lee's got. So I don't know how Lee's able to manage so good at Brighton. I love you, Lee, but I had to do it. Like, go and look at if you don't get what I just said, go and look at as Troop said, go and look at the Brighton manager. But moving on. He said, on his demeanour, "This is me. I'm the same person at Arsenal as I was at Schalke, Bremen, Real Madrid and the German national team. People may want me to change, but I've been successful everywhere and I never will." And I mean, he's won stuff at Madrid. He's done his thing at Bremen. He's obviously won the World Cup. So you can't really disagree with what he's just said, people, really. And he's also, he said, in regards to the big game, I missed some fits out. He said, "I know people expect me to offer more, dictate play and make the difference. I do too, but it's not that straightforward. I'm not the only player in the team. And don't forget, some of our opponents are simply better than us. Also, what is a big or small game? In the Premier League, anyone can beat anyone. Look at Wolves and Norwich beating Man City, or Newcastle and West Ham beating United." Love for the United bants, and you are right in that, my guy. And I do agree with there not being big in small games, but let's be honest, there are games come on, bro. There are games that Arsenal should be winning, and then there's big games. And yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily want to hear that our opponents are better than us, but it's the truth. Like, playing Liverpool and City, we're going to get smoked. Is what it is. And he's also said, "You can't say my good performances only became in small games, because these games don't really exist. The intensity is there in every game, and often the small teams raise their standard against the bigger teams. That is true. Most players don't play when injured or sick. It influences your game and you can't give everything. But I was always available unless it was impossible. Before the Champions League game against Munich in 2017, I was sick and Arsene Wenger told me I was not in the squad because of that. The next morning, the guy from Arsenal called me and said, listen, you have to come to the stadium. You have to be in the squad. Despite my illness, I joined the squad and played the last 20 minutes. So, Ozil is a scapegoat. You can say he lacks effort, but at the end of the day, if he's returning to training early from pre-season, if he is working, if he is getting fitness training, if he is working harder, if he is doing several things, then it's not fair, is it? And if he's showing documented proof that he was ill, then, well, not documented, but proof he was ill when them things happen. Regardless of your narrative or your opinion on Ozil, we need to differentiate what is fair and what is right and things like that. Finally, oh no, there's more. There's a lot more. There's a lot more. He said on his future, when I have a contract until the summer of 2021, and I'll be staying until... Sorry, I didn't say when. I have a contract until the summer of 2021. I'll be staying until then. When I signed the new deal, I thought about it very carefully and said it was one of the most important decisions of my footballing career. Have to wonder, do you think you're going to outlast Unai Emery then? Like, surely it's a game of chicken between the two. Like, do you think you're going to outlast him? New manager comes in. Do you potentially get to ride out the end of your Arsenal career in a positive light, playing on a more consistent basis? We'll have to see come May. He's also spoken on Arsenal fans in the streets. He said, we're all behind you. You're one of us. Keep strong. You'll get your chance. He's also sadly spoken about the racism of when Germany were kicked out of the World Cup. I've obviously said he's obviously talking about training and whatnot, and then obviously, yeah, man, like, I think it was a very honest piece from the sound bites I've seen in regards to Mesut Ozil, to be fair with you. So what can I say? I just want to see an end to it. I actually want to see Ozil and Emery on the same page, at least until January, when something can be done with Ozil. He's been linked with a couple other clubs. Allegedly, he's put his house up for sale. For me, it's going to end up in one of them going. Will it be Emery if we get top 4? Or if we don't get top 4, will Ozil be moved on due to wages and whatever? We'll have to see. But for now, people, deluded, I'm out. I've got nothing more to add. Thank you for watching and rocking.